A while ago, my youngest son organized a birthday party for his 11th birthday, together with 5 tough-looking boys, all dressed in hoodies and baggy jeans. We went to a trampoline park and then bowling. And something remarkable happened there. Suddenly, they started to sing. And the shyest boy in the group stood in the middle and sang a line while the others responded. It sounded like a well-rehearsed call and response performance, as if they had been practicing for months. I had no idea what they were singing. Then something told me it was one of the songs of KRC Genk, their favorite football club. The boys kept singing as if the rest of the bowling alley did not exist. By then, half of the room was looking at them, but they did not seem to care. They were completely absorbed in the moment. Watching the scene unfold with a smile on my face, I found myself thinking, if I had asked those same 6 boys to sing a song together under any other circumstances, for example, a birthday song for my son, they would probably have refused, because singing is boring, it's embarrassing, it's something for little children. Or at least that is usually how it seems. Because yet, there they were, 6 11-year-old boys fervently singing a football song. And what happened there on a small scale happens every week in football stadiums all around the world. Thousands of supporters singing together to support their team. And as a researcher, I think this phenomenon is endlessly fascinating. My name is Tine De Koninck. I am a literary historian at the University of Antwerp's Department of Linguistics and Literature, where I am specialized in early modern song culture. And in the 16th and 17th centuries, and indeed long before that, music and songs were everywhere. People sang in the streets, in pubs, at work, during celebration and gatherings, and simply at home around the dinner table. Thousands of songs circulated from generation to generation. Today, if we want to listen to music, we usually put on headphones. In the early modern period, however, music was much more often a collective experience. Singing was a natural and ordinary part of everyday life. That is no longer the case. Yet the football stadium seems to be one of the places where this old culture of collective singing survives. Thousands of people still sing together there. But why? Why do football supporters sing? That is the central question of this episode. You'll Never Walk Alone, a typical football song that you can hear in hundreds of football stadiums all around the world. And here you could hear 10,000 of Liverpool supporters during a Champions League game. And anyone who has ever attended a football match knows that football songs are much more than background noise. They support the game, encourage players, and sometimes intimidate opponents. But above all, they create a sense of belonging. When thousands of people sing the same words to the same rhythm, something extraordinary happens. For a brief moment, individuals become a community. More than a century ago, the sociologist Emil Durkheim described what he called collective effervescence, moments when people feel themselves becoming a part of something larger than themselves. Such moments can occur during, of course, religious rituals, but also concerts, political demonstrations, or sporting events. And a football stadium is a remarkable example of this phenomenon, because people who have never met before suddenly feel connected. They wear the same colors, they know the same songs, they share the same emotions. And perhaps most importantly, they know who belongs to the group and who does not, because every strong sense of belonging has another side to it. Every we almost automatically implies a they. And football songs illustrate this perfectly. Some celebrate the club, the city, or the players. Others are directed explicitly against rivals. And rivalry is an essential part of football culture. By singing about who we are, supporters simultaneously define who they are not. And it's precisely this phenomenon that fascinates me as a literary historian, because songs fulfilled important social functions in the past just as they do today. They brought people together, they strengthened group identity, they helped individuals define who they were. We can see this very clearly during the religious conflicts of the 16th and 17th centuries. Catholics and Protestants composed hundreds of songs defending their own faith while attacking their opponents. These texts were not merely written to be read, they were meant to be sung, because singing together made the message more powerful. By repeating a refrain over and over again, ideas, beliefs, and emotions were constantly reinforced. You could say that such songs helped sustain what historians sometimes call an emotional community, a group of people who share the same values, convictions, and feelings. And at this point, football stadiums and early modern song culture come surprisingly close together, even though the historical contexts are entirely different. Supporter songs create solidarity. They reinforce group identities. They make clear who belongs and who does not. And they sometimes contain mockery, rivalry, and sharp attacks on outsiders. It seems then that people repeatedly turn to collective singing whenever group formation becomes important. Although the great culture of communal singing has largely disappeared, there are still a few places where it survives. In churches, of course, where people sing together, at youth camps, around the campfire or before the meal, sometimes at political demonstration, and of course in football stadiums. All of these are places where communities seek to affirm themselves, moments when people want to show that they belong. And perhaps this also explains why football songs retain such a special appeal. Not because the lyrics are necessarily literary masterpieces. Also not because the melodies are exceptionally original, but because singing together does something to people. It makes a community audible. When thousands of voices merge into one, people experience, if only for a moment, the feeling that they are part of the same story. And that immediately brings me back to my youngest son, because just last week he graduated from primary school. And together with those same cool friends, he stood on stage singing a farewell song, wildly out of tune, but with complete conviction. We are ready for secondary school. And singing together is an ancient human practice. It is our way of expressing who we are, where we belong, and with whom we feel connected. The melodies change, the words change, the context changes, but the desire to sing together remains remarkably enduring.
Universiteit Antwerpen. Bepaal mee de toekomst.